Chodosetsky, and then Eden Frinza, Ben McLaughlin, John McDonald, Stuart Brereton in 26th place. And it'll be interesting to see how many cars we have on the grid in total. Obviously 30 in the GT3 class, but potentially only 26 on the grid today. But yeah, so do leave us a comment if you are watching in and you're enjoying. We'll keep an eye on the comments as we rate to go green here for round 3 of the IDMC winter season. This is, or the autumn season, should I say. This is the LMP2 and GT3 class. Now we have rights. We have rolling start. It's going to be Oscar on the inside ahead of Timo. Now, will it be interesting? Oscar will hopefully hold that inside corner. We saw in the F1 race how important having that inside line is. So Oscar's going to take the inside line as we get towards the start-finish straight here for the 3rd round of the IDMC autumn season. Still waiting for those lights to go red. And we're green. We're green here at Circuit of the Americas. Oscar Mangan leading the 15-strong LMP field. And that's a dive down the inside by Alex Dunn. Really aggressive by Dunn, and sorry, Oscar Mangan's gone wide, which means Alex Dunn's into the lead, but Timo Hayden's come back, and now they're 2 wide. Oscar Mangan's going to be really frustrated with that. Went wide on T1, and he had that time in front of him. Timo had to fall out now. Oscar battling with Timo Hayden. These are the top 2 in the championship. Let's not forget Josh Maynin as well, tied 2nd place. So it's 2, 3, and 4 in the 1, 2, and 3 places in the championship. Oscar leading from Timo and Josh Maynin, but Alex Dunn, delighted to see all this happen. He went aggressively down the inside of Timo. That worked for him, which allowed him to get inside of Oscar Mangan. And a pretty clean start. Oscar leading by 0.5 of a second. Niall, that was really aggressive, but very, very good by Alex Dunn.
Yeah, and apologies for everyone with a slight technical issue there at the start, so we missed qualifying and the grid up. But just to in case anyone missed it, we had Oscar Mangan was on pole actually by 0.4 of a second, and we down in the GT3s, if we can get down there, it's Robert Moore currently was on pole as well. So great start from these guys. We called it out at the start that Oscar needed to convert that pole, Kevin, and I was saying it was really into turn 1. Alex took the chance, he dived down. So we're just watching here as Robert Moore is, and just have a look in the background. There's a couple of cars locked up there, but yeah, someone's locked up anyway, but maybe we get back up to the front with Alex Dunn. He's really starting to get a little bit of a gap between himself and Oscar. That wasn't the greatest start from Oscar. He'd be ruining that, Kevin. But look, in the background, we've got Timo and Josh and Jordan Kelly in the mix as well. So this is going to be one hell of a race.
Yeah, there's obviously a dive down the inside there. That's Josh Maynin on Timo Hayden. Josh and Timo going side by side through the last corner as we go up the hill into T1. As we say, this is one of those wide braking zones. Josh just slips in behind trying to get a bit of that slipstream from Timo. Timo covers him off. That's an aggressive one, but both of them surviving. Josh going down the outside. That was an aggressive move from Timo. It was the same kind of move we saw from Alex Dunn on Timo, but the second time around, the German said, 9, no way that's happening. Covered it off. And holds on to 3rd position. That was Rory O'Shea, just to go back to it, that had spun out. That's why we saw smoke ahead of the GT3 cars. Thankfully, he managed to get himself going again and doesn't impede Rob Moore as he continues in P1 in the GT3 class. We just keep an eye on this shot there. There's a nice shot to kind of give us an idea of the distances between those LMP2 cars. And Niall, one of the things as well, we were talking about Oscar Mangan's start, and these LMP2 cars, very, very difficult to control on the opening couple of laps until they get up to tire temperature. Very suspect, they're likely to the back is likely to come out from underneath you at low speeds. And also for these drivers, they could have settings for quali, and for Oscar could have been a case where he hadn't changed the settings and was expecting something into a corner, and then the car didn't behave how he expected. So a lot of variables with these LMP2 prototype cars.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all down to how you get that clutch setup. Some drivers have clutch bite set on the steering wheel, Kevin, that they can really launch these cars. But as you said, it's not really until they get up to temperature. But as we're looking here, this is Timo Hayden. Like these cars are really suited to this track. I've actually been here, been to the inaugural race, and you wouldn't believe just how wide this track is. We were saying before this, before the event, we really wanted to pick tracks that could allow the multi-class to fit on the track, and certainly this is a great track for multi-class racing. A lot of the drivers talking about actually potentially dropping this round, which is surprising, but the way the grid is panning out here with Alex, he's just steaming out into the front, and Timo has been so dominant in the past, unable to even get up onto the back of Oscar Mangan now.
Yeah, that's a nice gap there between Oscar and Timo Hayden, and Alex clipping that inside sausage curb. We were talking about these sausage curbs here. If you clip them at the wrong place, particularly the LMP2, that is your race done. You are doing a Mark Webber impression, and you are more than likely out of the standings. We were just talking about the distance there. 52 feet is the widest part of the track, 42 feet the narrowest, which just goes to show you not just that it's wide in places, which is something that I think people who've watched the Grand Prix know, but it never really narrows that much. It keeps that 42 feet all the time. So as you say, Niall, I was surprised to see that drivers were using this as a drop week. And apart from maybe real life things that they might need scheduling wise, I find it hard to see how that could be of any benefit. If the race doesn't work out to your advantage, that's fine. You still have the drop week. But by making this your drop week, you're putting pressure on yourself for the other rounds of the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And just at the last round, we were talking to Timo, and he was saying this is actually one of his favorite tracks. He said it's so suited to the LMP3 car. So, what I would like to see is back down into the GT3s now to see if we can see what's going on there, because it looks like Robert Moore is really he isn't able to pull away so much from Adis, but Dennis Hanley Jr. has made his way up to third place. That could be his best position in the race so far, as far as I'm aware, anyway. And then this is really the racing I want to see. When you're talking about the the cars and how this track is set up, when I was at this track, I've seen GT3 Cup cars racing, Kevin. It really is stunning racing, this class of cars in real life as well. And these cars are just as we
that's a big tap.
It was a couple of instant points there for sure. But as we're coming up on lap 4 here, the point is going to make, look at all the different lines that GT3 drivers are taking around this track. You'll just see they're not as and there's nothing got to do with the ability of the drivers. It's just the way they like those cars set up. People are finding so many different lines. You can see it through there again. And actually, when I was at the track in real life, Kevin, it was one of the things that really stood out to me. That was like, the width of the track and the way it's laid out and the undulations and especially where the bumps are. As we look at somebody there, is that Peter McCann after hitting the curb? I'm not sure. Someone took a lot of curb on the way in.
I think Marcinkovas. Oh, and that's touch there when Rory O'Shea on Valentinas Marcinkovas. We were just saying he ran wide, took the escape route, and then came back onto the track. Seemed to have a slowdown. Went straight across there. Seemed to have a slowdown, and
he's damaged on the car. Look, he's damaged.
It's damaged already, but it
just comes around.
Oh, it's difficult to say, but. A tough one. From that angle, it's difficult really to appropriate blame straight away. But for Valentinas, it looked like he was tagged around the back, and you would say traditionally that is the responsibility of the driver behind to make sure that you don't run into the back of the person in front of you and tag them. But it was a tough one. Valentinas taking a bit of what's the word I'm looking for? An alternative line through the corner as opposed to around the corner, and served that slowdown, and then that's what caused that incident.
He was using the Paul Ricard layout there, I think.
Yeah,
he was just in blue lines and going for it. But yeah, that's unfortunate. We don't like to see that, but I do think there was a heavy hit onto one of the curbs heading into that we were just talking about. So we're up to lap 5, and we're watching here Dizadas Stekskiewicz and Robert Moore. So this is going to be really interesting, because these cars, you can see it there. This is exactly what I'm calling it. Just the closing speed, the different braking lines. As we draw, look at that for camera work, Kevin. As we flash on over to Oscar Mangan. Oscar Mangan back in the lead, Kevin, as we were saying that. So he's managed to get past Alex Dunn. And look at this. Timo Hayden unable to keep up onto the back of the the top 3, and Josh Mellon 2 seconds back. So whatever happened there, Oscar was able to, obviously, I'd say it was a mistake by Alex, because Alex was quite comfortable on it. Let's just watch here.
Yeah, Oscar going through T1, Alex getting it all wrong, way out. It must have completely outbroken himself. And very similar to what Alex did on Oscar. Oscar's now repaid the favour into the same part of the corner, taking the line, the inside line, keeping it nice and tidy, and just sailing past Alex. 0.4 of a second, Rory O'Shea getting past Peter McCann. And that battle, Valentinas Marcinkovas now going into the pits. But that battle, now we have 3 tenths at the front of the LMP field. and we have 3/10 at the front of the GT3 field. So please do not come at us if you're saying we don't have close racing in this championship. There is close racing in every single part of the championship, right up the front, which is brilliant to see. You can just see there, Alex is absolutely glued to the back of Oscar Mangan, no doubt frustrated at the mistake that he made and desperate to make it back. But Timo is clawing back that gap. It was about 8/10 of a second. Kimo now down to about 6/10. So it'll be interesting to see if these two guys pull away. And then behind Timo, Josh Malin is a good 2.3 seconds behind him. Now Adis going for a move down the inside. The number 4 car, the Porsche 911. He's done it. Now can Rob do the switchback? No, he can't. Slightly cut out of it there by the Lithuanian, who goes into
no DRS as well here for Robert Moore. Sorry to cut across, but this is a fantastic camera angle that just really will show how these guys are so dialed on the braking point, Kevin. Wait and see this.
Yeah, Rob going down the inside, but Adis, I think, is going to hold on to that line. Rob going to switch back, though. That is good stuff from Rob Moore. Next corner is a right-hander, though. Adis will have the inside line. Rob's going to try and hold it around the outside, and of course he has Valentinas Marcinkovas, who isn't lap traffic. Those GT3 cars aren't lap traffic for the LMP2. Rob is staying an outside line. He's allowing Valentinas up the inside. Valentinas can't quite get the move done. That's a little bit untidy, and Rob will be cursing him now because that was a great opportunity he missed. I think Rob was hoping that Valentinas could have just slipped in there and made that time up, and at the same time he passes his fellow countryman rather comfortably. So what was a 0.2 second gap, or even what was a lead for Rob Moore, is now a second behind. But as you say, traffic giveth, traffic taketh away, and we still have a good bit of time left in this race. 50 minutes left in this endurance race here at the Circuit of the Americas, so plenty of time for traffic to change things around. Now we're on board with Oscar Mangan. He's back into second place. Must have made a mistake back there, which seems to all be happening when we're not looking at it in the LMP2 class. Oscar being overtaken once again by Alex Dunn, and now Timo Hayden's all over the back of him, so no doubt a mistake there from Oscar. And this is something we're not used to seeing from Oscar Mangan. We're not used to seeing these kind of little errors, these little mistakes, as you get a great view of the crowd. No social distancing going on there, as Alex, that's just a good move from Alex, I think, just getting down the inside. Oscar's slightly wide. He was trying to go back on him again, but I think Alex got the move done, as now Oscar's in second place. Timo Hayden all over the back of him, about 6/10 behind him. Now, look, a very, very clean start by all these drivers. Really good racing. And if I was a driver here that was going for a championship, I'd have been saying to myself, this would have been a great opportunity to take some points.
Absolutely. And we called it out at the start. I know we had slight issues, so apologies to everyone. I'm just looking at the comments coming in the YouTube stream. Thanks to everyone for joining in with us. But we had some issues at the start when we were just getting the stream going, and we were calling that out, Kevin, quite clearly, that drivers were saying this wasn't their track. They weren't, it wasn't really going to be a race for them. But what we're seeing here is a real race. I can't see anybody right now who's going to be, wanting to drop this round. Certainly, Oscar's right up there. This is where he needs to be. He's battling with Alex right now, although the gap's slightly pulling out in the front again. We've got Adis with Robert Moore and Dennis Hanley Jr. right in the mix as well in the GT3s. Always a big shout out to Sergey Grabin as well, like a long time Digital-Motorsports racer. He's down there in 6th. Maybe we get back to those GT fields as we look at Rory O'Shea here, the Hyprix car making a move. And is he able to make that stick, Kevin? I think he is.
No, I think Arias is he's gonna get the exit. Is Arias? Rory's gonna have to stay behind. It was a bit of an ambition. Came from a long way back, and to be fair to Arias Hermantis, gave him plenty of space, but now Rory's going to go down the inside of this one. This is a much better position. He overtakes Arias. Oh, and there's a bit of a battle under braking. Interesting that Rory actually broke harder to begin with, but then was able to bleed it off better, which meant that in the mid-braking zone, he kind of snuck ahead, and by the time we got to the apex, he was well ahead. Rory getting the job done there in the Hyprix concert mood number 88 car.
Yeah, and as you can see, just some of the defensive lines. As we go back to Ian Malone now, Ian's got the run here on Victor Cullen in the GT3. I was actually talking to Victor Cullen at the 6-hour endurance race, and he had an unfortunate clutch failure as we were just blowing out our engine here. As we see a replay, Robert Moore, did something go wrong? He's on his own. He did. He just caught that curb. So Robert Moore, the GT3 championship leader, may well be dropping this round after that. That's a very rare mistake we've seen there from Robert, Kevin.
Yeah, just seemed to lose the back end aero there, a bit of temperature behind Idis Staskevicius's car. Maybe a clip of a curb, as you said, which sent him Rob Moore around, faced the wrong way. But look, this championship is a long way from being over. We're 3 rounds in. This is the 3rd round of 6, of course, in this championship. Quite a bit of racing to go yet. So yeah, it could be a drop week there. Sergey Grabin making the most of a mistake by Keith Stewart. We're seeing quite a few cars struggling on some of those high braking corners. Now, track temperature's probably pretty high here at Texas, at Austin, of course. We're at a time here where it is quite warm there, and we saw the same in the F1 race, just how high those temperatures are. Racing around the same time here, of course, during the day. So those temperatures do make an effect on your braking. They do mean that you lack that grip, particularly through the corners. There's Rob making up a huge amount of gap on Tony Stack. Tony Stack's almost looked like he's running sort of an Alpine-esque livery.
He does,
there
yeah.
it is, very interesting. Nice little livery there. Alpine, of course, confirming that they will be entering a hypercar in the WEC series in 2023, and that they're going to still run that grandfathered Rebellion LMP1 car for next year. But anyway, that is a whole other course of multi-class racing news. Niall, tell us, speaking of racing and speaking of maybe mishaps, you were saying there, you guys at Digital Motorsports, unfortunately, the old Fiesta Endurance 6-hour race didn't go so well for you last week. Ronan choosing to forego the 2nd-hour stint and ended up not being able to get in the car at all.
Will we go there? I think we should. Yeah, listen, it's a great event that's run by Mondello Park, where we're located every year. For anyone who's new or joining into the channel, of course, our offices are set up at Mondello Park in Ireland, and that's where we race, and that's where everything has been coming from over the years. So we decided to enter that race and bring our very own Ronan out for his first official race. So Ronan went off, got all the gear, and did everything, but he made the rookie error, Kevin, of deciding to get to go last, basically, out of 4 drivers, and he got what we call schooled. So he got into the car after Paul O'Connell, who of course is the boss. I think he's the current boss. No, Sylvie Mullins won it this year, but last year's champion. And yeah, I think Paul was just used to cars that revved up to 10,000 RPM, and unfortunately our Fiesta didn't do that. So unlucky for Ronan. Paul brought the car back into the pits, big plumes of smoke, and it actually blown the engine. So I think he drove one of the pistons out the side of the engine block or something like that. But it's an epic race. If you ever get the chance to do it, you should definitely get involved in it.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, and on the subject of real life racing, some of you may be surprised to know that I had my first ever real life racing experience last week.
Oh yeah.
Actually went karting for the very first time ever, would you believe, at the tender age of 28. So that just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how late it takes. It's all about how much you enjoy it. That is Alex Dunn, P1 and LMP1, overtaking Adis Staskevicius in the P1 in the GT3. Now, thankfully, those two through without any issues. Timo Hayden following. But look at that gap again, 2.5 seconds now between Oscar Mangan and Timo Hayden. Top two.
Now, I'm wondering, sorry for cutting across there, Kevin, right? We were kind of going on about the Mazda 6R and all this is going on ahead of us. I remember distinctly in the interviews, Timo was saying this track is really about managing your tires, you know, especially for an hour race. And I'm just wondering if that's what he's doing right now, because certainly these tires come and they go and they come back again. So I'm just surprised to see him managing that gap as well as he is. And as well as that, Josh Mayle now is going to be putting pressure onto the back, but Jordan Kelly's fallen away. So we're starting to lap the first of the GT3 cars. I guess I was just a back marker at the pit, but look at this now. Oscar Mangan right in onto the back of Alex. These guys are going to be putting big pressure on each other. And I'm just wondering, is this all going to play out to Team Aiden's long-term strategy here to just manage those tires, Kevin, and wait until the end, then start putting a push on with the last 10 minutes?
Absolutely. But I suppose the same you could say for Oscar Mangan in being behind Alex, in that he's not having to push overly hard. stay on the back of, he's kind of staying within the car's limitations. Alex is kind of having to do most of the driving here. Oscar's just following him through, which gives him a little bit of an extra opportunity to have a look at what's going on, maybe buy himself a little bit extra fuel and save the tires a little bit. So we'll be interested to see when we get to the pit stops how this all works out, and particularly when we get to the last 5-10 minutes of this race. Will we see Timo start going off like a bat in hell with fresher tires ahead of the other two?
You're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if that's just for me or if it's the internet. We have been having some issues, so apologies for that if we have lost Kevin there. But yeah, I think the point we're making right now is we're not expecting to see too many pit stops, long pit stops at this stage, but definitely tire management is going to be, for me, the key to how this race pans out, especially for the LMP series. I think we've got Kevin back, but let's just see if we can get back to the GT3 class, because there's been a lot of changing up around the front, especially now Robert Moore falling back out. So look at this. We've got Dennis Honey Jr. up in second place. To my knowledge, that's his highest position in the race so far. So if he can bring that home, that'd be absolutely great. And Sergey Grabin is also pushing for a podium here. And as we see, there's a great bunch up. Look at that. Luca Tigard in the back, and then Robert Moore already back up to 90. We just see the pace difference now as these LMP3s, Kevin. They just cut through that field so easy, especially down that back straight.
Well, even more so than LMP3s, the LMP2s. LMP2s, there's such a big difference now. That is, I was hoping we could have stayed with that for just a second, because there was... who is it behind Sergey Grabin? It's Arias Humantis, is it, in the Lego kind of liveried LMP2 there? He made a big dive down the inside. Now, I can tell you, for somebody who races an awful lot of multi-class racing, it is the vast majority of what I do on the iRacing service. When you are a GT car and you see an LMP2 sending it into a low-speed corner, there's the finger is going out the virtual window. I can tell you that much, because these LMP2 cars, for those of you who aren't as familiar with these kind of cars, LMP2 cars, very, very quick, much quicker than the GT3s, that's obvious. Very much better aero, can take high-speed corners much faster, and also have, much better range. But when it comes to the low-speed stuff, GT3 cars, particularly with the ABS, but also GTE cars, have that mechanical traction. They have that mechanical grip over the LMP2 cars. So if an LMP2 is sending it into a low-speed corner, he's just holding everybody up, because he can't get through it quickly. He's forcing the GT3 out wide, and then everybody ends up being held up. It kind of ruins everyone's race. So if you are an LMP driver and you're listening, please, wide exit, wide entry, fast exit, overtake us on the straights. It's as simple as that.
You have been warned. Kevin has told you that's the way that is going to work. So we're just getting back here with the race. This is great camera work by Mr. Ronan on the cameras. This is very impressive. But as I was saying, this is really what I'm interested in now. Getting to this point with the GT3 cars and to see how things pan out. So let's watch this for a second here, Kevin.
Huge gaggle there. Huge gaggle. Luca Tingard, I think, overtaking Aidan Friend. No, sorry. It was Keith Stewart actually overtaking Luca Tingard, I think. They're heading into that corner. So we have a kind of a train with Sergey Grabin, Keith Stewart, Luca Tingard, and Aidan Frinza, if I'm right. Although that GT3 at the back may be lap traffic. That is a move, though. That is a send by Keith Stewart, and contact between those two. Keith Stewart down the inside. Sergey Grabin not giving him an inch. Contact between those two, which then allowed Keith Stewart to slip up the inside, Luca Tingard to slip up the inside of Sergey Grabin and get in there. I'm not sure. That black and yellow GT3 car, I think, is lap traffic, and I'm not exactly sure what he's doing there, because the next car on the line is 6 seconds back. That is Ed Frinza. He's the next behind Sergey Grabin. So that black and yellow GT3 car between Ed Frinza and Sergey Grabin, I think, is lap traffic. I'm not sure who that is, but if I was them, I think I would probably maybe stay out of the way and let these guys duke it out. But a great move there. Keith Stewart down the inside. I think to be fair, it was a controlled enough move. Sergey tried to squeeze him in, a little bit of contact. That's just good racing, isn't it now? Niall. Okay, we appear to have lost Niall, but we'll carry on. We haven't lost this man who's in the lead, number 4, Aidas Staskevicius, over the limit in the Porsche G911 GT3 RSR course. The car of choice for these guys. A very interesting car as well. Rear-wheel drive, huge amount of power in the rear, which means the car is very, very... let's just say edgy on the accelerator. You have to be very careful about how you feather the throttle. Here is Rob Moore, who originally led this race not so long ago. He had issues going into the Maggots Beckett section, and again finding himself facing the wrong way, and this is just a very frustrating one for Rob Moore. We were talking about some guys using this as a drop week for Rob. This is definitely going to be a drop week. As we're looking at Luca Tingard, we see one of the LMP cars coming up on him. That is number 65 car. I don't have numbers ahead of me though, so I can't exactly identify that, but there is an LMP2 going through there. But Luca has Sergei Grabin behind him for company. Keith Stewart has Luca behind him as well for company. So again, that battle is Peter McCann. Thank you very much. In the VRA racing. Interested that the VRA are running a blue and white livery as well. We normally see them in the green and black livery, which kind of throws me out. Luca now going for a move. We're going to try and do it on the outside, but you can see that back end stepping out again. And you definitely slip differential in the TC, working overtime there for Luca, managing to hold on to it as it went round the outside. We're on board now we're looking at Josh Malin now, one of the other VRA cars. This is through the high pace section, and again Josh was testing out those sausage carbs in practice, but unfortunately finding out that they're just as deadly in the race as well, clipping one of those on the inside, sending him around. He's still hold on to 4th position. He has 7 seconds with Jordan Kelly behind him, but has now lost out quite a bit of time to Timo Hayden and indeed Oscar Mangan. So Alex Dunn leading up the top of the LMP standings. 1.3 seconds separating him and Oscar Mangan. We expect to see pit stops in around about 15 minutes time. So interesting to see these guys almost slingshot themselves around that turn there. I'm trying to see exactly what turn it is. That is turn 15, if I'm right in saying, here at Cota. Alex Dunn now we're looking at, and
pit top strategy. I think I'm back. Sorry, headphone issues here again. We're having all types of gremlins here tonight, and unfortunately, as always, we don't have Lawrence or Jack, so everyone has to put up with my ramblings here, Kevin, and technical issues. But yeah, as you were saying, I was just saying there the pit stop strategies were coming up, and I was saying that fueling won't be as much as an issue here as managing the tires and trying to get to the end of the race. But with 15 minutes in, I might take that back. Sorry, with 15 laps in, I might take that back, because as we're coming up in the halfway point here, I'm starting to see like Alex Dunn is managing that pace, but I could have been wrong about Timo Hayden. Maybe he just hasn't got the pace here, Kevin.
I struggle to see how Timo, when it's a track that he's comfortable with, doesn't have the pace to keep up with Alex and Oscar. And that's nothing against Alex and Oscar, but I've seen Timo's pace at Spa, and that's not exactly a track that he said he was massively his favourite. It's a track that a lot of people are very au fait with, particularly on the P2 cars. But this is a track that doesn't really get used that often, certainly not as much as we normally see in the European tracks, Cota. It is used from time and again on the European Sprint Series, of course, formerly the Le Mans Series, before there was a whole back and forth about that. But it's not a track we see a huge amount, as much as we would others. So I'm surprised to see that Timo is now 4.4 seconds off Oscar, and that's not a gap keeping gap. That is a gap of somebody who is going backwards pretty quickly. I'm not sure if he had a mistake there, but that gap's almost gone up by a second just in the last couple of laps alone.
Yeah, as we watch Jordan Kelly here putting the pressure on to Josh Malin, but just to join in on that, not really sure is he carrying damage or what's going on, but it's just shown that the pace out front is unbelievable. Like, it's the first time we've really seen Alex Dunn without getting mixed up or caught up in something. He's been very unfortunate this series, so we're really seeing the pace of Alex, I think, for the first time here in these cars as well, in the LMP2s, not the LMP3s, as I said earlier, Kevin. But so not taken away from him, but I think maybe this is the first time we've just seen Alex and Oscar get out in front and do their thing. Like we have seen Timo being fairly dominant. But now Jordan Kelly has managed to get past Josh Malin, Kevin. Look at that.
Yeah, and it looks like Josh was carrying a bit of damage, I have to say, because Jordan made up that speed very, very quickly, and Josh didn't fight him too hard. The two VRA Racing teammates, I didn't think that Josh fought him that hard through the corner. Maybe I'm wrong. Josh again clipping the inside curb there, and now losing out more time. You can just see that front left tire clip those sausage curbs, and you really have to be on the limit here, particularly through this section in these LMP2 cars. It's a difficult one to get right. So, Josh. Frustrating for him. I clipped that inside sausage curb. You wonder, did he lose a bit of floor? Did he get a bit of floor damage? And is that what's holding him up as he goes for a move down the inside of one of the GT3 cars? And almost collects Jordan Kelly along the way. I'm sure that he had it under control, though. Josh, very prolific in the Geneta series, of course, Geneta Junior series in real life. But we're looking at two guys who in the virtual world are certainly kicking some backside, and Alex doing it in the real world as well. For just 3.3 second gap now, and coming up to around about the half-hour mark, we're pretty much approaching the halfway point of this race. Oscar starting to bring Alex back in. Alex just with another off track there, of course, with 16 off tracks, I think, is a drive-through penalty. So that's something that these guys have to keep on an eye on as well, track limits. And it would be interesting to see how we get on when it comes to trying to get to the pit stops and who comes out top.
Yeah, as I'm just looking at this, and this is exactly what we said at the start of this race. It's going to be around the halfway mark, Kevin, when we're going to start seeing exactly what's what. And now, without Robert Moore up front, although he's starting to make his way back up in the GT3s, we're seeing the GT3s kind of where we'd expect them to be. You know, Sergey's, he's out falling back down, but we'll certainly see more as Sergey's, he got the run this time, as he managed to get that move. It'll be an interesting run. He didn't carry as much speed out, so it's a long run up as he just tucks in behind, tries to get an aero. But is that, well, let's stick with Sergey. He's being pushed wide now, so Luca not giving him any room. But Sergey's staying in.
He's going to try and hold that
gets out, and yeah, he's going to carry more speed through that. So obviously Sergey happy enough just to sit in and wait for his next attempt at that, the next lap around. But what I was going to say is, let's not forget one thing here. I've been watching this very closely, as have you, Kevin, and I'm just wondering, is track counts going to start playing, track cuts and incidents going to start playing a role in this race? Because we're 31 minutes in, we've still pit stops to go, and I'm just looking there.
Just 24. You read my mind now, because I was actually wrong. It's 25 is a drive-through.
Mm-hmm.
35 then I think is a stop and go, or is it just disqualification? I think 35 is
stop and go.
Or
yes, DQ. Sorry, you're right.
It is DQ. So Alex, you can see there the X's next to the intervals are the amount of incident points. If you're not familiar with iRacing, although I suspect you probably are, any off track is 1x, car contact is 4x, and if you spin, that's a loss of control, that's a 2x. Alex cannot afford to go outside track limits for the next half hour. He's run up 24 X points in 32 minutes, and now he has to go through the next 28 minutes without a single one. That is going to be a tough ask when you have a guy like Oscar Mangan behind you. I wonder, will Alex maybe tactically submit to position and go in behind Oscar? Because Oscar's on 21 himself, so a couple of off tracks for Oscar, and the two of them could be in a similar position. Now, of course, Alex could get a drive-through, Oscar could take over, and then Oscar could get a couple of more incident points, and he could have a drive-through, and it's more like an undercut than anything else. But Alex under pressure now with these incident points.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and as we're just looking at that now, it's starting to make sense. Jordan Kelly on 8. So these are all the strategies and tactics that will come into play over the next 30 minutes of this race as it all plays out. But I can't see how Alex, unless he's absolutely pinpoint precision on this, because it's very easy around this track to put a wheel off. So that's going to play certainly into the hands of Jordan Kelly. Timo, though, on 16. So a lot to play out. As we said, this race is going to be all about carrying that speed, the precision, and managing these tires. So as I look back down just into the GT3s now as well. So the GT3s have settled in. Robert Moore unable to really make up any play. So obviously carrying a lot of damage there. So this is one to forget for Robert Moore. So that will shake up, as we've got a spinner on the track. I'm not sure who that is. I missed that as we've gone around. Kevin, did you get to see it?
Looked like an LMP2 car. Looked like one of the VRA cars, but I couldn't be entirely sure. It definitely looked like an LMP2 car. Just on that Rob Moore aspect, you do see down your bottom right side of the screen, Rob did pit, which means that he obviously did lose quite a bit of time. I think he's actually running in behind Keith Stewart there in the number 14 car. Rob sporting the number 7. I think Rob pitted. Both of these guys pitted, actually, as a matter of fact. So perhaps they pitted early and hoping that the undercut will work in their favor. I'm not sure if these GT3 cars can do the hour.
Alex on 25 now. I'm just looking. It is. Look at that.
Yeah, Alex is going to have to take a stop or a drive-through penalty now, which means that that'll open the door for Oscar to come through and take the lead. But Oscar himself only 2x points away.
Yeah, so this is the way this race is gonna pan out. So of course, remember, you can't stop, you can't take on tires. It's a full drive through, so he can't be combined with a fuel stop. So that's Oscar's race essentially round, unless he's top 3, all have to serve a drive through, which I doubt. But this is all just showing how clean a racer Jordan Kelly really is up there in the top 4 when you look at it. Another point I was going to make, just as we're calling out Jordan Kelly, there is. Of course, these guys, if we look down through it, all of them have been in a championship winning scenario before, Kevin, in previous IDMC seasons. So they know how to win championships up there at the front. And I'm just wondering, is this at this point, are they just kind of saying, yeah, look, this is why they were saying this is going to be a dropped round for them? They just couldn't see the race for an hour without driving up those instant points, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Just as well safety rating isn't on the line here, because these guys would be taking an absolute hit. Alex now up to 27x. We say 35x is a disqualification. So, and he hasn't gone in yet. I think he has 3 laps to serve that penalty from the lap in which it was given. So maybe that makes it next lap. Oscar Mangan now is 25 as well. So both of these guys will have to serve drive-throughs. Timo, 18x, that gives him a 7 to play with, if my primary school maths serves me correctly. Oscar now, will he go for a go on Alex? But if my memory serves me correctly, so that means that Timo, can he get through 40 minutes with 7x? Certainly, if these two guys do drive-throughs and Jordan Kelly is 10 seconds behind, then you imagine, for Timo's point of view, that makes it a lot easier to stay on track. Alex with another X point in this lap again. That makes it 28. And you're getting towards seriously scary territory now. If Alex has a car contact or anything like that, that means he'll only be 3x points away from being disqualified from this race, which would be a real pity. But these guys know, Niall. They know what the rules are. They know what the instant points are going into it. And if they decide to flaunt those track limits, then that's what they get.
Well, that's it. I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Like Simon Wall has finally caught up with us. Welcome to the race, Simon. He was watching 5 minutes behind for the whole time, so the comments weren't syncing up. But the guys are calling it out here. They're saying this is anyone's race now. The instant points are they must be wrong, is what Brian McManus is saying. I'm kind of thinking that, Brian, because nobody's pitted at this stage. So the guys are fairly dialed here, Kevin, on the chat. Big shout out to Lawrence as well. Hope you're feeling better, Lawrence. And as always, I'm wondering. I've yet to see these incidents being wrong on iRacing server yet, but as Oscar Mangan is serving his, so Oscar's decided to drive. Now let's see if this is a drive-through or does he actually pit. This is going to be interesting now. So, are we actually reporting? No, it looks like he's coming in for a pit stop, right?
That's what it looks like. He's turning into the inside lane, and he's being followed by Jordan Kelly there. In there. So Oscar's taking a normal pit stop. Alex still hasn't come in. We're talking to Ronan here. He still seems to think that this could be a big mistake by Oscar, that he potentially is thinking that he's serving a penalty, but in actual fact what he's doing is he's taking a pit stop. Alex again still hasn't come in. 28 instant points. So Interesting to see. We'll have to try and get some confirmation from our race stewards. Is Rob King and Sean, are they in the race steward position again tonight? We obviously didn't get confirmation of that because we had such technical issues heading into this, but that's something that we're going to have to get confirmation from our race stewards, because if that's the case, then that completely throws this race open. If it's not the case, then we go back to the drawing board as Alex going down the inside there of a GT3 and forcing them out wide. I think that was a little bit of a surprise there. Maybe a late Halloween scare for that GT3 car.
Yeah, the stewards are looking into that at the moment, so we'll wait for them to come back on that. Of course, there's technical issues, so they can't put up the usual race commentary points was live. So I'll just keep my ears open for that, Kevin. In the meantime, what we did see was it looked like Oscar Mangan came in and took tires.
Yes, that is interesting, and that could be. It's quite surprising, really. You would imagine that these guys would be trying to make the tires last, but maybe Oscar knows that he's done the calculations in his head. Look, he's been at it a long time, Oscar. He knows these cars and these tracks like the back of his hand, so he must know himself what kind of strategy he wants to run. Just saying, Daniel Summer.
Alex Stone. So Alex into the pits now. So if we could get a view to see if Alex just serves a drive through or
he's pitting.
He's pitting.
He is pitting. So Daniel Summer coming in. Thanks very much, Daniel, for clearing some of this up. And this is why we love having people in on the YouTube
on the chat. Yeah.
Daniel said instant points and overlays are never shown correctly until after the race, as iRacing doesn't put the information through correctly for spectators and overlays. They just it's just a speculation on the instance. The overlays just speculate on what could be the instance.
There you go. That's why we love you guys out there giving us this information. So a huge shout out there to Daniel Summer. That's new to me. So
it's me too.
Well, if that's the case, we're flying blind. We might as well take down those instant points right now and get back to the racing, because here we are. Alex Dunn right out. He's out in front, so the undercut not working for Oscar Mangan, and that was really close. Alex just getting straight out in front. So look at these guys, back to a half second. That's real racing there.
Yeah, I was just talking to Rob Hederman, who's obviously looking after the stream. He seems to think that the instant points are still there. This is a very interesting aspect, as a dive down the inside on the GT3 leader by Alex Dunn, and now Oscar going back at him. This is the race for the front in both classes coming head to head here, as they thankfully do get past Adis. But these two going too wide now. I think Alex is going to have to pop in behind Oscar Mangan. Oscar's going to try and get down the outside. Alex goes down the inside. A desperate move again by Alex. Will there be contact? There will be a slight brush between them. Alex forcing Oscar Mangan out wide, and certainly absolutely no case of holding onto the tires here. And of course, we didn't get to see that pit stop fully from Alex, or at least I was looking away as it was happening. But I'm not sure if Alex took tires. We know that Oscar did, so Oscar could potentially have much fresher rubber to go at this, although I would suspect that if they're coming out together, Alex probably did take new tires as well. But Oscar now 2.2 of a second gap, and at a time where it looked like these guys were running away with the race, they're right back at each other as Oscar now tries to go down the inside.
This is great.
And Alex is forced out wide. He goes, I don't know, did he lock up there? He wasn't able to take that final turn. And now Oscar trying to break the toe of Alex Dunn. Oscar knows he has the tires,
guys, so he's allowed that one move. That's within the rules, so just not over and back. Oh, that's a big lunge from Alex. That's brave. Is he going to... Oh, he's locked it up. He's just overcooked it. As Oscar Mangan goes around, so I'm not sure was there contact there in the end.
I went to look at the chat to see what was happening. Now let's have a look at this again. Oscar weaves to the outside. Alex is in behind him. Oscar goes wide. Alex shoots down the inside.
Oh, he did. He clipped him.
Completely clipped him, yeah. Hopefully Alex does give that place back to Oscar. I think he does actually straight away. In fairness, Alex gives it straight back to Oscar. So good sportsmanship. Alex just slightly getting it wrong in the braking, but good fair play there from Alex, allowing Oscar right back. And Arias... in the Arias Staskevicius in the GT3 class must be wondering, guys, get out of the way. I'm sick of seeing you. Stop battling each other. I have a almost 8 second advantage. The only way this is going to be taken away from you is one of you hits me while you're battling. Just get lost. I want to get up the road.
Yeah, I'm sure he's coming up onto the back of that thinking exactly that. But yeah, he's fairly dominant back in the GT3 class, and it's surprising actually, because Dez fallen away. He was going well. So this is all playing into what I was saying about how the GT3s are really going to struggle at this latter part of the race. But that was really sportsmanship. It's great to see Alex doing that. Not nice to see as we look at some of the back markers here, just being absolutely taken apart. I think that is Sergey, is it? Yeah, he just threw that very awkward part of the track. It's so hard to connect all that up, as I was saying, Kevin. Just get that flow through there. It's all throttle and input. Very little braking as you come through. It's Timo Hayden. Now, has that battle up front? It has. Look at this, Kevin. 2.5 seconds. Talk us through it.
Yeah, well, look, we saw that instance at the top of the hill where Alex took out Oscar, and that meant obviously Oscar spun around, and that also meant that Alex had to wait up for him. So Timo's looking at his relative with a particular amount of glee, seeing both of these guys catch up fairly quickly. Now, this is the real test now. We were talking about, was Timo holding on to his tires? Was it a case of just not having the pace? Or was it a case of Timo, holding off slightly? 15 minutes left, 2.7 seconds for Timo. If there's ever a time he needs to put the foot down, make this work, this is it. We're about, what do we have? About a 2-minute lap around here, something like that, just short of 2 minutes for the LMP2s. So quick maths would tell you 16 to 8-9 laps, maybe 9 or 10 laps for these guys before they see the checkered flag. So that's contact there between Rory O'Shea and I think that's Luca, not Luca Tingard. It's I think it's Lucas Lenkiewicz, is it, in that car? But Rory trying to move down the inside, and I think he thought that the GT3 car was going to move for him.
We'll see it now.
Never did.
So unfortunate. I think it is Luca Tingard, is it?
No, well, maybe it is.
Pure racing incident anyway, but there's nothing we can say about that. The stewards are going to look into it. But
Luca, you're right.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there for Rory and for Luca.
Yeah, very unfortunate. And you can understand Luca as well. Thought that it's one of those things you have real no way of communicating with other people in the race apart from voice chat. But as you're driving, you don't really have an opportunity to kind of explain what's going on. So it is a difficult one, in fairness, when somebody, you think you have the corner, the LMP2 think that they're going to go for the corner, and then just a bit of side. Luckily, at least door-to-door contact at those two, and these LMP2 cars are made of fairly strong stuff. I think it's fair to say they're one of the most robust cars in the game. They can take a bit of punishment. So hopefully for Rory O'Shea, not too much of an incident. We're looking at Jordan Kelly now. He has a nice gap behind him, between himself and Arturas Candelas, but he's all over the back of Josh Malin. Josh has clipped a couple of sausage curbs. He particularly finds this section difficult here, this fast flowing sections, as Josh Malin. So it'll be interesting to see if Jordan Kelly can make up some time on him. And indeed, we obviously took those incident points off the screen because it does seem like none of these guys are taking drive-throughs. So perhaps we didn't give them enough credit as to their ability to keep it on track. That's Josh slipping down the inside of the number 46 High Prix car, as we're back up the front here with Oscar Mangan, 0.3 of a second between himself and Alex Dunn. This is a battle that's continuing. Look at Timo now, with Timo flashing his lights at the GT3 car, saying desperately, I need to be in here, but there's a move there by Alex Dunn. He's not waiting around on Oscar Mangan, gets down the inside of Oscar Mangan on the number 99. Oscar now trying to come back down the inside of the next corner, and does
great.
Brilliant stuff between these two. In fairness, Oscar coating it down the inside. Alex has the outside line, but he's going to switch back to the inside. This is the great thing about this coated track, is that it's really flowing one, but that's allowed Timo now get right on the back of these guys. And as I was saying to you, Niall, 2.6 seconds was the gap between Timo. I was saying it was about time he stepped up. This is where we see his true pace. Now we're seeing 0.9 of a second. I don't think Timo took tires when these other two guys might have, and obviously capitalizing on that mistake as well from Alex running into Oscar. But fair play to Alex, he gave the position back and now cleanly has taken first position once again on Oscar Mangan. We're on board now with Timo Hayden. This is an absolutely superb car. The sound of the LMP2 engine, the Lara P217, is one of the greatest sounds you can hear on the iRacing surface. It is absolutely superb, as Oscar goes that slightly wide, and I think he's going to be conscious now of the fact that Timo's making up that space. Of course, Timo, championship leader, by 50 points ahead of Oscar Mangan, and then Josh Malin is tied with Oscar. So if Oscar gives him this position, he'll make up points not only on his championship rival, but also the man who's tied with him in second place. But this can be a huge win as well for Alex Dunn if he can hold on to it. We have 12 minutes left here at the Circuit of the Americas. This is some brilliant racing. We've had it close all the way through this last hour.
Don't go anywhere, folks, right?
Yeah.
We keep saying it week in, week out, Kevin. How do we keep getting racing like this? Like, that was reminiscent there of Verstappen and Hamilton back in was it 2019? 2 cars side by side through that. Like, that is so much skill these guys are showing to do that side by side through the fastest 3 corners on the track, and then all of a sudden,
Oscar making
his move.
Alex going to defend it on the inside, and Timo, look at
Timo right up. So now we have a race.
This is the green, white, and red all over the place. 3 very different livery cars. The Core Racing and the Oscar Mang and the VRA Racing, of course. Timo.
Here comes Timo.
And he's gone down the inside, but holding it on the inside of Oscar Mang. And Oscar must just think, how did this happen? I had a couple of seconds lead, and now all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of a green and blue sandwich. What am I going to do to get out of this? Some brilliant racing. Thanks to all of you on the YouTube comments, particularly webcam-ht.xyg-enough watch stream girls here, who seems to be particularly enjoying the action. Your comment will be reported as spam, but we do appreciate the impressions and the stats nonetheless. We can definitely use those towards our sponsors. Nobody says that. Look at Timo, look at the ground. He's gaining on the number 99 car as Oscar follows Alex Dunn through. We have 10 minutes left. Now, I would not want to be a betting man in this situation.
I'm telling you, I just see those links of being the leader of both, but I was nearly going to click there because I just couldn't get any more excited than this already. But I'll tell you what, week in, week out, we keep saying it, right? Like, last 10 minutes of the race, it's just...
Oh, look at that contact between Timo and Oscar Mang and Oscar Mang! Oh, no, that was in traffic.
No.
Sorry to get across you now, but just saw that in the back of the screen. Timo went in. I don't know, was it a traffic issue that Timo didn't see Oscar, but comes in and takes him out? That is a punt. That is a punt with a capital
That is a
P.
punt and a half.
That is a punt and a half. I don't know where there's a joke there to be made about Germans and American football and the Dusseldorf Eagles after the NFL Europe days, but that is Timo's given back the position to Oscar, but that essentially now has given Alex the.
And I'm sure that's too much damage on the back of Oscar's car as well. There'll be a lot of aero there, maybe handling issues as well. So we'll see. You can see it straight away. He's just not confident on the braking. So that gives Alex Dunn the opportunity 8 seconds up the road. And let's just drop back just to see if there's any action on the GT3s, because I think we're starting to see the LMP2s mix it up a lot now to GT3s. But here we have Adidas up 3 places from the start of the race. Had it all his own way since Robert Moore had that unfortunate spin. And then Dennis Hanley, I really delighted to see Dennis here in 2nd place. That's a great result if he can bring that car home. And then Lucas in 3rd place, 16 seconds back. But yes, I guess the closest race there is with Luca Tigard and Keith Stewart in the GT3s as those guys come into the last. But this is Oscar in. Yeah, but I kind of figured his race was going to be ruined at that point with that big punt that he got it back. That had a lot of impact, Kevin, into the back of the car. So unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. And to be fair to Timo, I don't think it was intentional in any way. I think that was actually, looks like he's serving a drive through Oscar. That could have been his instant limit hit there with that 4X contact between those two. I think it's just traffic. Like, you're kind of swerving in, they're all, as joke is that they're moving chicanes, but like for the LMP cars, you come around the GT3 and you're following another LMP2 and you're obviously battling for the lead. And, you could have, I can't remember the exact situation, but you could have a situation where, let's say, as Alex goes down the inside there, a VRA racing car mightn't necessarily be Alex. That could actually be Josh Malin. It is Josh Malin in the VRA racing car.
Yeah.
There, he's gone into 3rd. He's the one that's profited massively from this, of course, because he was tied 2nd in the championship alongside Oscar Mangan going into this, and this means that now he will open up a gap on Josh Malin, not on Timo, however, who's going to look like he's going to finish 2nd. Jordan Kelly now coming into that. That was a good battle between those two, but it seems to have sorted itself out. But sorry, going back to my original point, it is like you could have a point where you have a GT3 car in front of you. You're having to force on the brakes, but the car coming behind you is only just overtaking the last GT3 car. He expects a clean run behind you, and all of a sudden, those, like with the lack of ABS on these LMP2 cars, you put the brake on and you get that initial braking, but then the car starts to slip underneath you, and all of a sudden, the two of you are spinning around the wrong direction. So, from what I've seen of Timo so far this season, looks like a very clean driver. The battles going on, but just really unfortunate there. I know that obviously Oscar Mangan will be cursing Timo, if under his breath, hopefully not in the voice chat. But I think when the dust settles, I think these guys will know that, look, it was just an unfortunate incident. I really don't think there was any malice there, and it was the most unfortunate thing is that it took away from us for the opportunity to see what would have been a brilliant three-way battle.
That was lining up to be something really, really special there, and it's so unfortunate. But stewards are investigating it. It will be seen as Oscar did nothing wrong, and in fairness, the way I'd view that, it was up to Timo to kind of control the braking and control the traffic. So Oscar very much the innocent party in that. So I'll leave that to the stewards, of course, to come back to us. But yeah, look at this stage of the race now. Just looking at keep those comments coming in, guys. Vintage Bow, yeah, I feel the same, man. It's unreal racing, and that was so unfortunate that we lost that, as Kevin was saying. So back to racing, Kevin. Where are we?
Yeah. To be fair, it is Oscar is completely the 100% the innocent party. Just I suppose just to close off with it, but I still don't think there was any malice from Timo there. I think it was just
no malice at all at that point.
It was just one of those unfortunate things that, as we see Keith Stewart now go for a move down the inside, Luca Tingard, that is a good move by Keith Stewart, but Luca's going to try and get a switch back, and the Keith outbroke himself. Sorry, Keith, I put the kibosh on you there because I thought you were going to get her slowed down, but he goes back down the inside of Luca. Luca giving loads of space here. I know that Luca there was a bit of back and forth between some of the guys on the chat there coming into this race, so I think trying to give each other enough space is kind of key, as that is one of the Lithuanian drivers whose name escapes me at this exact moment, who's going through there in the LMP2 cars, but Luca Tingard up a place, not a bad stuff for Luca as we get into the last 5 minutes. But really, unfortunately, unless I'm looking here, can we get back to the front of that LMP battle? Unless my eyes deceive me, I think Alex Dunn has made a big mistake, and all of a sudden, Timo.
No, it looked that way for a sec, but yeah, I think we're being haunted by all types of technical issues tonight. I know as well the stewards are just trying to get some of this information and data back to us, but no, it looked that way. I was looking at it. It looked like he was within a half second, but no, Alex clean out in front, as I say that, a lock up there from Alex, but that won't do too much harm to his race. Josh, so really, the top 6 of the LMP2 class. It's interesting to see Oscar did manage to get back out in 5th place, but that's really put damage to his championship, and maybe this is a round that he'll be looking to park. But certainly for Alex, it's a great result if he can bring this car home with just under 3 minutes to go, Kevin.
Yeah, great point here made by Ben Phelan in the comments, and it's funny how sometimes karma pays off and sometimes it doesn't, and etc. But Ben makes the point, with that incident between Oscar and Timo even happened, if Alex hadn't done that move down the inside of T1 and taken Oscar out, Oscar just seems to be the innocent party in all of these. And it's true. It probably wouldn't. It probably would have been a case where it would have been Alex and Oscar up the front, and Timo would have been nowhere to be seen. But then, like that classic Gino De Campi said, if my auntie had wheels, she'd be my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. Like that's racing, isn't it? That's just one of those things. That's why sometimes you're in traffic and sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're out front and sometimes things change, and that is the beauty of multi-class racing. That is the beauty of the kind of racing that we have, is that it's never static. You don't ever see a point where drivers start P1 and they finish P1, well, apart from Spa with Timo, to be fair, but generally in a race you don't kind of keep a position and you hold on to it and you're locked all the way through, and it's a bit like Bathurst where there's no overtaking, and once you get a good start off, that's pretty much where you finish. It's very much traffic plays into it, circumstance plays into it, luck plays into it, and that's what we love to see. And I know in this point, obviously, unfortunate for Oscar, and Alex is the one to make up out of it. But I mean, that exact question kind of distills why we love multi-class racing, is because it's dynamic and because as a driver you're never really allowed to.
Yeah, and for me, like it's always been so interesting to see how multi-class racing works. I really think we got it right. Not blowing our own trumpet on this one, Kevin, but I really think that this actually works. The tracks are working out great. The racing has been true multi-class racing, like the LMP2s and GT3s are mixing well on the track. To go back to the point about Timo, I think the punt was, it's on him. It's his car making contact with Oscar, but it was a result of being in traffic. That's racing, as you said. That's why we love this, and that's why we're here to see it. But Timo has actually managed to pull in, I think that's 2 seconds now, but he's not going to have enough time, as I think we're on to the last lap, but if not, that's Alex Dunn is certainly heading on to his last lap, as Ronan shown off all of his camera views on that one, but now is Alex about to just have the final drama of this race? No, he's quietly past Arias or was that Arias?
No, I think it's Valentinas Marcinkovas. I think it's Marcinkovas.
It is, yeah, you're right. As we just get a great on board here, as I was talking, these sweeping corners, you gotta hook up all these apexes, keep the power on, stay off the curb. Such a technical course through this section, and set yourself up for the lap. But hats off to Alex. He made the dive at the start of the race. I don't want to put the commentators' mockers on him just yet, Kevin, but he really got the nose down, made the moves, stuck early, and he's really battled this out in pure classic endurance style to bring home what will be, I think, his first win in this series if he can manage to hook up these last few laps.
Yeah, certainly the first move on down the inside was a superb move. Not too sure about the one later on, but I think it's an interesting one. I think I would have really loved to have seen as another lockup there from Alex. I think if Oscar and Timo were still in this race, Alex would have had him, it would have been much more tricky for him. But he'll take it. He'll take B1. And look, Timo in second place, he'll take that, given the fact that he was pretty much out of the picture there, it seemed like, for a while, although he was coming back into it before that contact between Alex and Oscar. So, it is disappointing that it's finished that way. Another great shout out as well for Idis in the GT3 class. Once Rob made that mistake, he was just all over him. Didn't allow him, just kind of went all the way through. And we get the white flag there. Is it a white? Is it a checkered? I think it's a checkered.
That's the victory as he pulls over to his pit lane. So, yeah, as we were saying, obviously, I was just watching it the last few corners. So, incident counts not an issue for Oscar Mangan in that. As we watch some of the race, the cars just pulling over. And let's get back to the GT3 and just see where we are in
I think that is our GT3 leader just coming around the final corner there. And it is Ida Staskevicius. I've probably pronounced his name wrong, but if he wants to message me, he can. But it doesn't matter how he
takes the win.
Takes the win. Dennis Hanley Jr. This is a superb result for Dennis Hanley Jr., a guy who's raced so long in the IDMC.
And just look in the background. There's cars literally pushing each other over the line. That's how close the fuel was in this. So I think that's teammates just actually nudging each other over the line. We'll have to look back on the rule book with that one. But yeah, in the end, you can't take it away from Alex. Endurance racing, it's an hour-long race. Okay, it's not 24-hour Le Mans, but we said it week in, week out. You
can take... that's Luca Tingard.
Luca Tingard with a late dive.
Ian Malone, he's leaving Ian go ahead, I think. Yeah, that's good sportsmanship. To be fair, sorry, I'll let you finish your point, that point in a second, because it is a good one. But just, we've seen a good few instances in this race, and to be fair, all the drivers, when there's been clear blame, they've let the other one go ahead. So I'd love to see that tradition continue in the IDMC, and hopefully something that we see in the first. Got across you.
Yeah, a great race in the end, as saying. So Alex taking the win. Teammate Josh Malin, that'll do his championship no harm at all. And then, as we were saying, Sergio Grabman actually rounding out GT3s in fifth with Keith Stewart just in behind. But no taking away from the results there. And I think we're just waiting for the final confirmation of results to come up. We're just waiting for them to come up now. Should be up soon enough. But this really is maybe a race to forget after all for a couple of the drivers. And in fairness to Drivers Briefer, they were calling it out that some people were just gonna sit this one out or use it as a drop round, Kevin.
Yeah, I think it was a pity though, because I think a lot of these guys would have actually really enjoyed it. And we did miss out, at least in the LMP1s, we had all the championship leaders who were battling very closely, but just unfortunate in the end that we didn't have a full field. Hopefully in 2 weeks' time, we will have that. But look, we do have the final results. Alex Dunn with his first win of the championship, the number 11 car coming home in first position. Then Timo Hayden managing to consolidate his lead at the top of the championship, despite having maybe being slightly off the pace in the way that we had normally seen. Josh Malin, good race for him. He's gone ahead of Oscar Mangan into clear second place down the championship, I think, when all the dust has settled, if I'm right in saying, followed by Jordan Kelly, who at times was close to mount the challenge, and Josh, but just didn't have the overall pace. Oscar Mangan could have very well run this race. He stopped for tyres. He looked like he had the pace over Alex Dunn. Two unfortunate incidents, hit by Dunn and then hit by Timo Hayden, caused the end of his race. Hopefully we'll get him on the interviews afterwards. He can talk us through it. Then we have Arturas Candelas, Tony Stack, Arias Diamantis, Harlis Yatautas, and Adam Dowling rounding out the top 10. Rory O'Shea in the high pre-concert mood, LMP2 car finishing 11th. Then Peter McCann and Valentinas Marcinkovas, a tour member for both of those, particularly Marcinkovas, who really struggled an awful lot of incidents there. But not for the man who finished in P14 overall, but P1. He came into the championship in 6th position. He was on 100 points, 64 points behind Rob Moore. He has now made up a huge amount in that. Aidis Staskevicius from Over the Limit Racing, the number 4 man, the Lithuanian, finishing in 1st position, followed by Dennis Hanley Jr. What a brilliant drive from him, putting himself right up in the shake-up. He came in 4th into the championship on 111 points, so another big result for him. Then Lukasz Lenkiewicz rounding off the top 3, the Polish entrant, followed by Vladimir Podomarenko, the man from slightly further west across the border. Sergei Grabin in 18th position, followed by Keith Stewart and Eden Flazina, should I say? Sorry, I've been pronouncing his name wrong. Eden Flazina. And then Rob Moore, who was leading the race for quite a bit and looked like he was going to consolidate his position at the top of the championship, but a slight mistake going through that high-speed left-right section saw him out. Ian Malone in the team Arsenal Racing, the 417 is finishing at P22 overall, followed by Luke Tingard, John McDonald, Stuart Brereton, Andrew Czarsketsky, Victor Cullen, and Ben McLaughlin rounding out your race this evening. Victor Cullen and Ben McLaughlin finishing way off the pace in the end. But brings to an end a incident-packed race, and hopefully we'll have a few drivers joining us. One of those is our winner in the LMP2 class, Alex Dunn. Alex, probably not a win in the way that you wanted to, but a good, solid, consistent drive and P1 nonetheless.
Yeah, I'd like to first off start by saying a massive sorry to Oscar for the very silly move on my behalf. I tried something that was way too optimistic, and there was a little bit of contact. I slowed down and basically stopped on the track to let him back pass, but it was a silly move on my behalf.
Yeah, and look, I suppose that then kind of created that three car situation because you guys were so far ahead of Timo. Were you surprised that you guys were able to build out such a lead? And then just talk us through that battle, because that three-way battle was absolutely fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I think until the incident, Oscar and I had a really great battle. I think while I felt like I had really good pace during the race, and I was trying to get away and build a gap, so I was kind of pulling Oscar along with me. And then I made a slight mistake in the S section where I hit one of the really big yellow curbs and got some small damage. So after the pits, when Oscar overtook me, that's why I tried the optimistic move, because I was afraid that he would get away. Because I had some small damage, which was really hindering the car performance. But overall, it was a really, really enjoyable race.
Yeah, and look, that move, I suppose, didn't work out with Oscar, but it certainly did work out on the opening corner. That move down the inside, an aggressive move down the inside. Was that something you were planning kind of before we gridded, or was it something that just came to you kind of in the heat of the moment when you saw how it turned out?
I think the plan, I didn't get a great jump. My reactions were slightly slower than I would have liked. and I went for the move. I went for the move on Timo, but I actually didn't overtake Oscar on purpose. I was quite far behind him into the apex of the corner. He just missed the braking and went off the track by himself. So it was mainly just a move on Timo, and then Oscar made a slight mistake, which gave me the lead of the race.
Alex, we were talking kind of over the course of the race. We had what we thought were the incident points coming up ahead of us, and we were worried that you were, I think we were about halfway into the race, and it was showing that you had 24 incident points. Can you confirm, like, how many X points did you finish with in the end? How close were you to getting a drive-through?
I had 23 in the end, but I got a few in the middle of the race where I was trying to pull away from Oscar, but I felt pretty relaxed and pretty okay on the incidents.
Brilliant. Alex, look, just before we leave you go, it's kind of a two-part question. First of all, this win kind of projects you back up towards the top end of the championship. I suppose, does that change now your target for the rest of the season? Does it mean that you're kind of targeting a championship leader? Or are you still kind of looking for a top three? And I suppose, look, finally, is there anybody you want to give a quick shout out to before you leave you go?
Yeah, I think I'm still going to come to all these races with the same attitude, just take it race by race. It was unfortunate having 2 non-finishes at Spa and then at Monza, but no, I'm still going to take the same approach and just take it race by race. And I'd like to say a big thank you to my mom, my dad, all my sponsors, and Digital-Motorsport for organising the championship.
No, certainly all of them very proud of you. Great drive again, Alex. Fair play to you. We mentioned it on stream. There was a number of incidents like yours in which all the drivers actually hold up and wait for drivers to go through. So I think, when you make a mistake, you put your hands up, and I think Oscar, he's been at it long enough to appreciate that he's been on the other end of it as well. So fair play to you for coming on, and the apology, and look, the very best of luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully have you in soon.
Thank you.
Brilliant, Niall. That was Alex Dunn. Fair play to him for coming on, as we said. Do you want to take Timo there? Just a bit of a strange race for Timo, something that we haven't seen before, I suppose, in battling the others. Normally we see him out in front. So, Niall, do you want to take it?
On Monday at the practice, I already knew that will be a very hard race for me. I never found pace. I don't know what's going on today. I was surprised that I got P2 in the qualifying, to be honest. That was really surprising. I never expected it. Then at the race start, Alex go alongside on me. I knew that he wanted to do that, so I let him pass for some reasons. Then I am at the first part. I could hold on with Oscar and Alex. Then I had bad luck with traffic. I guess in the first run until pit box, with the traffic, I lost like 6-7 seconds through the traffic, through the S's, which wasn't that bad because relax on the tires. Maybe at the end I can profit of it. At the end, I profit on it because they had some contact or whatever they had, Oscar and Alex, and I knew okay, that's not my chance to recover. Very bad. Like Alex also apologized. I also apologize for that against Oscar. I didn't saw anything. I was he lifted or braked very early, but I didn't expect it. I'm really sorry for that. I easily would take P3 in this race easily. So I let him by again. I not thought that he was over the incident limit at this point or through this incident, which is really bad. Sorry for that. Then I tried just to take home or finish the race.
Yeah, we just had a look there and looked at these things in slow-mo. I was there, and I was making the same point, Niall, that when you're following and you're racing and you're in a higher class, sometimes things can happen and it's kind of all over before you even get a chance to react to it. You obviously said you didn't know that Oscar had an instant, but we were quite surprised. You had said last race. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong because I wasn't here to hear this. but I heard that Kota was one of your favorite tracks.
Yes.
Do you regret saying that? Maybe did you regret it when you went into qualifying? I'm sure you kind of thought maybe I shouldn't have said that.
No, I'm still on that statement. This is one of my favorite tracks. Even I didn't got the pace today. I still love the track with the flow, especially the first sector. Sometimes you have good races, sometimes you have not that good race. It was not a bad one. It was just not that good as the first 2 rounds. So yeah, I stay on my statement.
Very good. Well, look, you're a man of your word, in fairness. And look, going into 2 weeks' time now, we're heading to Sebring, slightly further east. How do you feel about Sebring? Are you as fan as you are? It's a track that we see much more often in calendars. It's in IMSA, it's in the European Sprint Series, in iRacing, all over leagues. So how do you feel about heading into Sebring?
Sebring itself, like Kota.
Okay.
But I don't want to say that loud again. No, I have to see how the car with the fixed setup matched me on Sebring. I think Alex and Oscar will, and of course Josh, not to forget him, will fight back there again. It will be a very close one again. Traffic is a little bit better there, in my opinion. So let's see what's going on. It will be still a close one.
Well, hopefully a close. I suppose just frustrating, I think, even for you, P3, but just there was a really nice battle there developing, and I'm sure that you guys were, you're all disappointed that you weren't able to kind of see that one over the line, because good drivers love good battles. So Timo, Hayden, thanks again for joining us. You're still top of our IDMC Autumn Championship as we head into the 4th round at Sebring. So look, get on the sim. Very best of luck for the next couple of weeks, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much.
So thanks very much to Timo, our LMP2 championship leader. And to be fair, it's a round of apologies. Now, I think we have the GT3 winner on the line, if he can come in with us. Now, we do have our GT3 class championship winner. Adis, first question, and I really do not wish to offend you when I ask you this, but we've been commentating on you for the last couple of days, and I cannot get my tongue around your name. Can you let me know how I pronounce your last name? So from now on, I can actually do it correctly.
Sure, I can do that, but I'm not sure if that's gonna make your life easier. Staskevicius is fine, but actually Stashkevicius.
Stashkevicius. Okay,
yeah, so just do with Staskevicius. That will be fine.
Okay, I'll do my best. My well, I wouldn't even say rudimentally Lithuanian. My Lithuanian I learned for the day I was in the country. I think probably won't stand me very long. But look, Adis, congratulations. Yourself and Rob Moore. Rob obviously winning the championship. You were having a good battle there. But to be fair, those races, Rob goes off, you have a couple of second advantage. Yeah. Those races can be difficult in the way that it's hard to know how to pace yourself and how to keep the tires going when you've such a big gap behind you. So I suppose when Rob went off, was there a particular kind of strategy, or how do you try and make you keep some sort of pace whilst also making sure that you kind of protect your position?
Yeah, well, honestly, it was quite a hard race because I was racing on my own most of the time. And it was a bit tough to manage myself, as you mentioned. I made a lot of mistakes. If I had to say how many clean laps I had, I would say maybe 3 over the race. But my main priority was to save up the tires and not spin around. So I managed to save the tires, but I did spin once. But otherwise, it was a pretty good race. Yeah, sadly, I had an incident with Vlad. I suppose he's my biggest opponent here. I think I bumped him, or either it was a netcode. I suppose you look into that if he reports that, so sorry about that. But yeah, I was constantly watching whether he's catching up, what he's doing, and so on.
Yeah, I think I was looking at him asking certainly, so I would expect to see it, but um, nonetheless, it could have been a lot worse because we were joking on commentary myself. While the battle in the LMP2 class, and you were you kept getting sucked into it because they were battling so hard that there were mistakes being made. You must have just felt like you just wanted them to go away and leave you alone because there were good 2 laps there where you were kind of just sucked up into it.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. They just jump on you, especially in the first sector, the fast S's. It's super crazy. The Porsche is super twitchy there. You have to be extra careful, and then LMPs come, suck up the air, leave you in the dirty air. It's crazy. It's super hard. I was sweating from, I don't know, second or third lap.
and the thing is as well, like you that instant rate, those instant points kind of rack up as well. It's very easy to get off tracks on this circuit.
Yeah.
Were you getting close to the limit, or were you fairly?
No, I actually managed to pace myself. I did all of the possible off tracks in the practice runs, and now I think finished with 9 or 10 access.
Well, fair play. Look, it's worked to your advantage, and a very consistent strong race. Different kind of attitude. It's more of a mental game, really. By the time
Yeah.
when you get to a lead that big so early in the race, so congratulations, really good effort. Adis Jasfiskis, I'm definitely murdering that, but I'll get better, I promise. Before we get to the end of the season, my Cork tongue just can't get around it.
Sure.
Either way, regardless, a great P1 and a great way to launch yourself into the GT3 class with a couple of rounds to go.
Cheers. Thank you.
Brilliant. Niall, I'm not sure if you're with me or.
I am. Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
play. Sorry, you kind of jumped in there, and we didn't busy laughing with Timo that we didn't get a chance to hear from you. But yeah, it's just we were talking there about, I suppose, unfortunate that the LMP1 battle finished the way it did, but some superb racing in amongst it nonetheless.
Yeah, sorry, you had to jump out there, Kevin, because obviously a lot going on with the stewards. We're just investigating that incident, but it does look like I think with Simon, it was saying, sometimes the stream doesn't update with the actual incidents till after the race. So that's been cleared up. We were reporting you guys having 28, 29 incidents on the overlay on the stream, but of course, Alex there confirming. I think he said he 23 wasn't it, at the end, which is correct. So, yeah, incident packed race. Disappointing in the end, I guess not for Alex, and certainly, for Oscar, I think he'll be ruining that. 2 chances at it, but fair play to the guys. It's great to see this spirit. I keep talking about it week in, week out when we see it. We've come so far in the maturity of this community and this racing that, it really is great to see people just doing the right things. We've gone through the dark days of people, reversing onto the tracks and doing stupid rejoins, Kevin. Gone through the dark days of, just absolute dive bombing and, long may they stay behind us. And now it's really great to see just that respect. People leaving we've seen it with especially with those moves with Oscar and Alex. Just beautiful to watch. Both guys, top of the game, leaving each other space on the track. We did call it out at the start. It's wide enough to do that, but and then the unfortunate incident. Alex comes straight on. You can tell it's the first thing on his mind. He wants to call it out. He said it. It was ambitious, and it's great to see, Kevin, is when you've got that respect now in this community and this racing, that they pull over, they let each other pass. We've seen it in this race so many times.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a credit to the lads, and I think the thing is, this series is run at a level, and we always go on about it, and I don't want to go on about it because really it's all series should be running at this level. We shouldn't be clapping ourselves in the back. This should kind of be a baseline, but the fact that I think it's run at a certain level means that the guys racing in it know what the standard is and know what's expected of them, and therefore when we see incidents like that, we do see that level of respect between them, which is great to see. So as we see Adis doing a nice kind of Tokyo Drift impression there, we kind of missed that over the course of the race. But look, the one thing I did want to say just as final words is there's no way none of us would be watching this if it wasn't for Ronan Hederman and the the Trojan work he put in the build up to this. As we were saying, we were having issues with a few technical issues, and Ronan was running around like a man possessed to try and get them fixed. And we got there just ahead of time, and it's all credit due to him for keeping this show on the road and making sure that the unbeaten streak of broadcast continues. So, look, a massive thanks to Ronan for his professionalism and the work that he's done. And as I say, I'm not big on backslapping. It's done too often in this community, but definitely when it's something that like that, where it goes down to the wire and somebody pulls through, I think he's just due a huge amount of.
We've had so many over the years. I remember one night myself and Rob King, possibly before your time, Kevin, with us, but we're out in Mondello getting ready for a race. Rob pops the kettle on because he likes a cup of tea, and it blew all the fuses, and the whole room just went dark. So, yeah, hats off to Ronan. I've been there. He's taken over the reins for me on this, and I have to say he's left me in his dust because the camera work is second to none there tonight, and the amount of pressure that he's under to get, a lot of people probably wouldn't realize how much goes into actually, the race control, the cameras, the stewarding, the broadcast, the whole promotion, everything to get this. And again, that's not blowing our trumpet, but it's just saying that, the drivers see the efforts we're putting in, and that's why we're getting this quality of racing, and the sportsmanship on display tonight it's really what it's all about for me, Kevin. It's just as long as I see the drivers putting in that effort and showing that amount of respect, we're just going to keep going higher and higher and higher and keep pushing all the way up to as high as we can go and to the highest standards we can go.
So enough of the backslap and enough of the teary, misty-eyed.
Misty-eyed, yeah.
We still have 3 rounds of this thing to go, and we are right down to the wire. 24th of November at Sebring, same time, 8:30 as all. Well, maybe just before 8:30 as always. Race start is 8:30, but do get yourselves in, get your popcorn in early, and get on the YouTube comments. Thanks to everyone on YouTube as well for somebody commenting in. Really insightful stuff again. But look, it's all set up. We have a championship that is open in the LMP2 side. We've got a championship that's open on the GT3 side. We've got 3 races left at 3 of the best tracks in the world, and we hope you join us 2 weeks' time at Sebring, where not only are we hoping to have some big news or some racing on the track, but also we hope to share a little bit more about some of the work that's been going on behind the scenes here at DMS. In 2 weeks. So yeah, it is well worth having a listen in next week or 2 weeks time, because all of us are going to be in great form. We're going to be in excited mood heading into the race.
Well, I'll leave it with this, but you can do your normal sign off weekend, but I will leave everyone as intrigued with this. Anyone who's been following Digital-Motorsports for the last 3 or 4 years, they know I can't contain secrets. Every time I know something, I just bust them to get it out there and tell people what. But this time around, folks, I'm just gonna hold it for a week because it's that good, it's that big, it's that awesome. You're just gonna have to join us next week, and it will blow your mind. So I'll hand it over to you, Kevin, to wrap it up, in 2 weeks' time, and we'll see everyone back real soon.
Absolutely, 24th of November, just gone 8 o'clock. Do keep an eye on the Digital Sports Facebook page as well, and thanks to all our sponsors who have been flashing up on the screen over the course of the evening. There was too much to get through. We didn't get a chance to give them a mention, but they do give us a massive amount of support. But we move from the Lone Star State to the Orange Juice State. I don't know what the Floridian the nickname is, but we do head to the fine state of Florida and the track of Sebring. It's going to be a bumpy one, but it's going to be an enjoyable one. Do join us at 8:15 on November the 24th. But until then, it's long before.